Marlene Revo. She's the executive director of the Western. Hold on, let me make sure I get this right. Boy, there's a lot of grants going around, guys. You got to get you one of these grants and start you up a nonprofit. She's the Western Pacific Veterans Community Foundation executive director, and she herself is a veteran. So that's pretty cool. We did have a comment here. Well, there's a bunch of comments from D. Wayne, who Rosemary Guatnia. Dear Lord, it seems like you might as well release all prisoners and allow them to be hired under this administration in top positions, thereby not allowing law-abiding citizens a first chance. I know, D. Wayne writes, and I know people who do this for free and get their earnings after helping a vet. Sarah Dimla Harrell comments in, the program is clearly for reintegration of people who had gone through challenges and mistakes in life. I don't think the criticism isn't so much about the application qualification process, since it's said to be tedious. What this is an example of stigma placed upon individuals who are trying to rebuild their life, those previously incarcerated, dependent on drugs, etc. I do hope that her intentions to turn her life around for the better are genuine, and I commend the program for giving her a second chance in life. And that's kind of the big debate with this second chance argument, right, Bree? It's like, first of all, it seems like the only people who get a second chance are the people who are connected or they have a in, right? Well, that's how I see it. Yeah, and so no one is saying, and that's kind of like the default argument that they throw out is like, oh, well, what are we going to do? Throw them away? Well, I'm just saying it's a case-by-case basis, right? So generally, I don't know, if you're on probation, I don't know. I mean, used to be we would wait for these people to finish their sentence and to try and rebuild their life. It wasn't like they just went straight into Gov Guam. Because last time I checked, people's tax dollars, I mean, some of our money goes to rehabilitation, but I don't know. I'm just very interesting, this second chance program. And she mentioned this with DOL. It kind of seems like it's already been implemented. I love.
Well, they're up for a budget oversight, so maybe we'll find out more.
So that was definitely a pretty interesting interview. But, I commend Marlene Revo because everyone was jumping away from this. Like, Crystal was doing double time saying, oh, she's not a GovGuam employee. And Miss Doris who served Guam was like, oh, she's not under me. No one wanted to claim this lady Andrea until Marlene came to the show this morning. And it's up to you guys to interpret whether or not you think her hiring was justified. But at the end of the day, it's a federal grant. Right, and so I guess there are stringent parameters for who can be hired under a federal grant, or at least I thought there were. But I also thought that was interesting how she kind of qualified what she was saying in her defense of Andrea by saying like, "Oh, don't worry, she doesn't handle cash." So I mean, it's interesting the lengths that we go to, and that's what I'm saying. The lengths that we go to give people a second chance, because no one is saying don't give anyone a second chance. We're just saying it's case by case, and you shouldn't have to be related to someone and jump over other people in similar circumstances and move to the head of the line just to get your second chance, right? Oh, it is what it is. It's 8:54. We're going to bring on Senator Joanne Brown here because I know that she had a bill that seems like it's languishing. I've always wanted to say languishing in committee. It seems like it's been languishing in committee. And this is the bill that would bar people from, people who are convicted of official misconduct from being employed in the government of Guam. And just to be fair, now Andrea Montreal Cruz, who pled guilty to those fake diploma scam charges, is technically, I guess, not a government employee because she was hired through a federal grant. So I'm not even sure if she would apply to this bill. But it's the same smell, if you ask me. So, Senator Brown, if we could just start there with, what's the update on your bill that would bar those convicted of official misconduct from working for the government of Guam?
Hi, good you. Wow, what a morning out there. Well, the bill actually, a public hearing was held on our bill in February 24th. And from the last we heard from Senator Joe San Augustine's committee is there were senators off on the bill. I believe Senator St. Augustine himself, I appreciate his effort, his committee members and staff to move the bill forward. And Senator Tony Atta, I believe, and Senator voted to report out. So those are the 3 votes so far that we have that we're aware of. It's 2 votes short of being reported out of committee.
So what's your comment on that?
Well, I would had hoped that, you know, the other members of the legislature, they're members of the committee, because I am aware that the Senator St. Augustine staff has circulated this bill more than 2 times, that the senators would, members of the committee would vote on it and take a position. Certainly with these issues that have come up and that we've seen, it continues to remind us that we have individuals that, you know, had the opportunity as public servants to serve our people, and unfortunately through actions of their own that have benefited themselves. You know, they were charged and convicted or pled to official misconduct, and then we end up finding them resurfacing in the government in another position, you know, with taxpayer dollars or federal funds that are received on behalf of the people of Guam. And yet we know, Chris and Sabrina, there are many other people in this community that are qualified. We have very talented people out there, good law-abiding citizens that haven't committed any crimes against their community, that never even get a chance to stand, you know, in line to be first up. And we're continuing to see examples of this. And I think this is not the standard that our government should have, especially when you've had public officials that were entrusted with these responsibilities and again, you know, took actions to benefit themselves at the expense of the people. I don't think we should be rewarding that in this community. I think it sends the wrong message. It sends the wrong message to our young people out there that we continue to encourage to, you know, study hard and do well, and you're going to succeed. And right now we're literally rolling out the red carpet for people that have committed these offensive crimes. And then we continue to reward them at the expense of you know, the upright standing citizens of this community that work hard every day and never even get these opportunities. So I think there's something very wrong with that whole process.
Senator, let me ask you, so if your bill were passed into law, what would happen to those people who are already hired in the government of Guam who have been convicted of official misconduct? Are they safe?
Well, I mean, they could argue legally that because they were put in place prior to the passage of the law, that would not apply to them. And that's unfortunate. But at the same time, I think moving forward, I think this practice needs to stop, especially when you look at the type of crimes these individuals have taken. And then, you know, they argue, oh, you're not caring, you're not compassionate of these individuals. And I don't look at it so much as our sense of caring and compassion. I look at it as a sense of personal responsibility. I mean, these are grown adults. I mean, we know the basic issues between right and wrong. We're imperfect, we're human beings. Yeah. But nevertheless, we have an expectation for our public officials, and that includes everyone that gets a paycheck from the people of Guam, you know, that they should execute their job. They're there to do a job, and they're there to do it responsibly. When they abuse that opportunity, and some of them flagrant, some of them very arrogant about the whole process, why should we be rewarding that when there's so many other people in this community that have done none of those things? And like I said, they never even get a first chance. They never even get a first opportunity.
Yeah,
work in this government and serve our people.
It's kind of crazy because the only people they want to give second chances to are the ones that they're related to or they're connected to.
Well, and we're, you know, Chris, I'm sure at some degree, if we really looked at it, we're all somehow connected or somehow related, but I don't think that should be used as an excuse to promote individuals that have been very irresponsible and have done some very bad things that have offended our people, done some very illegal things. We shouldn't be encouraging that. It doesn't mean, oh, you don't give people a second chance. Yes, I'm all for people that reform, and some of them come out even doing better because of the adversity, what they've been through. But at the same time, I don't think they should be returning to trusted public positions in our government, serving our community. I think they really already abused that opportunity. I don't think they should be given a chance to do that to the people.
I mean, if it was my bill, I would make it a little harder, and I'd say, hey, after you get a conviction, I mean, certain types of convictions, then there's like a 2-3 year cooling off period where you just can't work for GovGuam at all. Because what we're seeing in this case of this federal
well, if it's official misconduct, there is no cooling period. It's indefinite.
Right.
There would be no more an opportunity to come back to do that.
Right.
And you know, the sad thing is we continue to see examples of that in different shapes and forms coming back. You know, these cases are fairly recent. Some of them, you know, we're not talking 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. We're talking the last couple of years. And so what example does that? So I didn't realize it's so easy to get a job in GovGuam. I never applied for a classified position. Maybe I should have, and I could have, you know, wow, a bit of a different reality for the last 30 plus years. I would have had to run for office and ask the people at Guam to re-employ me if they chose to.
Have you
But this just isn't the standard we should be setting for government.
have you gone back to your colleagues, because I feel like what it is and why this bill is languishing in committee is because it's kind of been labeled as the Frankie Rosalind bill, and given Mr. Rosalind's relationship with Lieutenant Governor, maybe some of the any senators down there, they don't want to touch this, right? With a 10-foot pride flagpole. But maybe now you need to say that, hey, Mr. Rosalind, he's done his probation, he's set for life now. There's no reason that, they can support it.
Well, I don't feel I need to educate my colleagues on that, Chris. We're all grown adults. I'm sure they're very aware of what's going on. They have to stand on their own feet and essentially account to the people of Guam with regards to what their position is, if they support the bill or if they don't support the bill. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, Mr. Rosalind's a recent example. He's not the only one. I mean, if we're going to go back and trace, former DOC correction officers that have, been arrested for bringing in drugs and other illegal contraband into the prison. I mean, that list does exist, and there's quite a few people on it over the years that have committed those type of offenses. Right. But I think in this particular case, I think people are very disgruntled with seeing this sort of thing. It doesn't set the standard. And I really am disappointed overall. I mean, because we have an expectation that our public servants have to make that extra effort, because we are public servants, and it doesn't begin and end at the top. I mean, for years I've watched this go on that, we watch elected officials, appointed officials, those at the very top. But you have, classified employees in the government of Guam that actually are the main body and the main structure of this government. And time again, we continue to see the abuses. I mean, look most recently at the case with Department of Labor. I mean, that's just, during this pandemic, even during a challenging time that our people are going through some unfortunate circumstances as a result of this pandemic, you still see individuals that have the opportunity to be put in positions to help our community abuse that. Directly abuse that to benefit themselves and take public money that they have not earned, when there are others out there that so desperately need those funds. And you see it, that's flagrant. And I don't think we should be rolling out the red carpet in our government for individuals that abuse their opportunities that they've been given. I mean, literally, it's almost turning your nose up at it. And I don't know where that comes from. I really don't. And I think, and certainly as a policymaker, I think we need to set those standards. A job in the government is not an entitlement. I mean, even though for many years it's often been looked at that, it's like, hey, once I get in, hey, I cruise for the next till I retire. And I just don't understand that view. I mean, job, there's an expectation for us to do it. I mean, we didn't lose a paycheck during this whole pandemic. Those are all the benefits that come with it. And I don't think we should be taking advantage of it. We shouldn't be abusing it. So certainly in my capacity, being back now as a legislator, this is a standard that I like to see in the government, certainly a standard people that I run into and talk to me and relay their concerns want to see in this government. And certainly I hope my other colleagues that serve on Senator Committee will also see it that way. I mean, we always say we're running for office, we're there to serve you. We want to make Guam better, to improve our island, do all these great things. And yet when we get in, sometimes it's a very different story. So that question you're asking me, probably you can ask the other senators as to why they've not taken the opportunity to respond to the committee report and vote on this bill.
It's
so we
interesting.
Can get on the floor and debate it.
It's interesting because I pulled up Bill 37, your bill, and it's not even updated. It doesn't even say when the public hearing was held or when the committee report was filed. Because usually, you're able to go in and see who voted, right, to move it forward. But there's not anything here.
Well, and normally they will do that once the committee report is completed and once it's voted on. So, like I said, I do understand because Senator San Augustine's staff has been keeping us updated, and I know they've circulated a minimum of 2 times already, and they've not, beyond the three votes, including Senator San Augustine as the chairman of the committee. We don't have any other votes so far. I did speak with Speaker Therese Terlaki yesterday. She does sit on the committee, and I've got to confirm because I don't know if it's in her capacity as ex officio member, but I'm sure she will be very supportive. She was very supportive during the public hearing on this particular bill, so I anticipate to be able to get her 4th vote. So we're still short 1 to be able to get majority of the votes of the committee so it can be reported out and debated on the floor.
Oh, you brought up Speaker Therese Terlaki. I believe this week there's finally going to be this oversight hearing, correct, on the Chamorro Land Trust Commission? Isn't it this
Yes,
week?
there is. And I did look at the agenda. I didn't see anything there with regards to the falsification documents. I'm sure I'll bring it up during the oversight hearing. While I understand there are other critical issues on the agenda she wants to discuss, I still think that issue needs to be looked at. And I only serve on one committee, and it's her committee. So as a member, I'm certainly going to be bringing it up when I have the opportunity during the hearing with regards to that issue, because I think that issue needs to be reviewed and an assessment needs to be made, because we do need to find out, are there any other documents on the official record of Chamorro Land Trust that may have been altered? And as with all the issue, and certainly Sabrina, you know, a lot of the issues, you've been in the media for so many years here on Guam, reporting on a lot of these issues with Chamorro Land Trust. And I just think with the history of what has happened in the past, moving forward, we need to clean slate moving forward to make sure that, you know, we don't have these type of issues lingering, especially a lot of these things that are generated within the land trust itself, because you have individuals, you know, using and, you know, abusing the position they have to facilitate this for parties that may not be, you know, quite eligible, or putting them ahead of others that, you know, have been waiting in line since, you know, the mid 90s. So that issue, I think, still needs to be addressed. I don't think Mr. Haddock simply stepping down makes it all disappear, even though I think publicly that's the hope for some people. You know, we don't know if there's any other documents that have been altered that have been misrepresented as a work product of the land agents.
Mm-hmm. There was something else that I wanted to ask you about, because I know that you've had your eyes on the Guam Fire Department and the pay issues there. But something happened last week, and it really was, to me, a cause for concern with the E911 system going down. And I know there was a hearing, I believe, on the E911 system months ago, and the procurement for a brand new one, which we've been talking about for years and years and years, and different fire chiefs. Now, do you have any idea, you know, or I even spoken with GFD or the oversight chair, because we haven't been able to?
Well, the last I had heard was with you, and we had that oversight hearing, with their budget also, with the updates that they were working on the procurement process. I mean, it's not an issue of funds at this point, because remember, the funds that they were claiming the previous administration had taken out of GFD, it had been returned. Even though we're 2.5 years into the administration, they're now asking us to return the, you know, authorize those funds for those purposes. You know, we just have to follow up with that procurement process on where they're at, because I understand it's not an issue now of funding. I mean, they did outline the type of system that they needed, a more updated, modern system. And I think we all understand and appreciate the need for it, because we also got those notices. If you needed help, you had to directly, you know, call the fire station with the, you know, that was closest to you. So definitely we need to address that. But I don't understand if there's any obstacles at this point from preventing that procurement process from moving forward, because they sounded as if they're very specific about what it is that they were working to obtain. So that's probably something certainly also the news division can follow up to find out what the status is as a result. But I'm not aware of any action that would need legislative intervention at this point any further with regards to the procurement of that system.
Right. Well, thank you, Senator Brown.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, especially on such a rainy day, for you guys to get all up and ready to go. I appreciate listening to you guys on the radio.
I'm wearing my galoshes.
You take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Senator.
Bye.
Right on.
Bye.
9:10. Man, I don't even know what it says about our government and our legislature if we can't even get senators to agree that people who are convicted of official misconduct, this is when you work for the people of Guam and you screw us over, whether it's, you know, you're a prison guard who's implicated in a drug smuggling scam, or you're a public school teacher who's involved in swindling people with fake diplomas, right? Official misconduct means that we can't trust you, that you were trusted and you ruined it. And that our senators can't agree on this because of their political connections. It's insane to me. I literally can't even, Sabrina. Because to me, it seems so basic. I'm not a hard ass. Like, I want people to have a second chance, but Jesus Christ, if you abuse a position of trust in the government of Guam, then you shouldn't work for the government. Totally. And you shouldn't have, you know, lieutenant governors going to bat for you, or, you know, senators like stuffing bills because they feel like they're targeting people politically. It's actually insane. It's pretty insane to me. But hey, it is what it is. All right. There's always that to go back to. It's nine. Yeah, that's the. You know, when Sabrina goes, you know.